Okay. What I have here is I have a bubble hash bag, and I'm going to be using this for a dry ice extraction technique. And so I'm going to get this started right away, and I'll continue talking, but I wanted to get the ganja on ice so we can start working. What we're going to be doing here is we're going to be freezing the oil crystals to separate the plant matter ultimately from the oil. One extraction technique here. Got dry ice. Got dry ice right here. Don't want to handle this with your bare hands. No, it doesn't matter. You just can't touch this with your bare hands at this point yet. There's a company around here called BOC, which I got this from. Got some herbs right here. It's good to break these up. Surface area is pretty important in this process. What you want is you want the maximum surface area to contact with the dry ice and the cannabis, so you can strip all the oil off of it. So again, I'm gonna get into this process, and then I'm gonna get back to it a little bit later. I want to get this working here for us. Yeah. Straight up dried, cured, straight from the hills in Nimbin. Break this up a little bit. Again, gloves are good for this process. The herb gets a little bit sticky, as some of you guys might know. And so this is a 190 micron bag. The oil will fall through this bag. Put that over there for the time being. I got picked up by the cops this morning. Right here. Yeah. Yeah, they got me. They made me do a little swab test for them. I tested positive. And they then took me down to the little Caddyshack paddy wagon down there, you know, and it was actually kind of funny because I wanted to talk to the police while I was here. So I got my chance. It was pretty interesting conversation that I had. I tested negative in the paddy wagon, and so now they're going to send my saliva off to a testing facility, which probably costs a gajillion dollars, and I'll get a letter in the mail or an email in 6 to 8 weeks saying if I tested positive, which then I guess I'll have to come back, which wouldn't really be a bad thing, or I can just file my paperwork over in the States. And I'll pay a fine. So it was actually a pretty neat experience. Like I said, I wanted to talk to the police. You know, with the whole legalization process, we're kind of preaching to the choir here. So the policymakers and the police are the ones that we really want to get our points across to. I talked to the police. I talked to 4 of them. I asked them their opinions on things. They told me that they weren't allowed to comment, which didn't surprise me. So they're stuck in a position, and they're just middle-class people, just like you and I, you know. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone just wants to be comfortable, right? They're just doing their job. So changing the police minds isn't the deal. It's going up the ladder to the policymakers, absolutely. So that was my morning. Here I am. Yeah, we don't have that in Colorado anymore. All right, you know, I would like to thank the Hemp Embassy for bringing us out, my business partner Matt and myself. This is a huge honor for us, to tell you the truth. You know, it's a highlight of our cannabis careers for sure. I'll explain my cannabis career here. You know, and thank you for the town of Nimbin as well. It's a very wonderful, inspiring experience, man. You guys, we will take some of this inspiration home and remember it. You guys are awesome, really, and Australia for that matter. You know, so like I said, you know, if it's the police or if it's someone seeking medical attention, or, you know, if it's a medical doctor, for example, you know, everyone really just wants to be comfortable at the end of the day. And, you know, cannabis on a medical subject is not harmful at all, and I can speak from experience. Let's see. Let me start with a little bit of background about myself, and then this will give you a better understanding of where I'm coming from. I started smoking cannabis when I was 17 years old in high school. You know, I was 17 years old. Think about it. You know, you're going through puberty. You're having all these chemicals go off in your head. My parents were getting a divorce. I think my girlfriend broke my heart or something like that. You know, and so I was this teenager that had all this built up energy inside of me. Mom was like, I want my son to be happy. I want him to stop putting holes in the drywall, man, you know, kind of thing. And I did too, man. I wanted to feel better. So she took me to a psychologist. They prescribed antidepressants to me. They figured out I was depressed. I wasn't depressed. I was just angry, you know. And so as they prescribed me the Prozac, about 2 months later, a guy handed me a aluminum can with a little bit of herb on top of it, you know, and there I went, boom, hit it for the first time, and it really did something for me at that point. And I began I literally threw the Prozac away the next day, and I was like, this is for me, you know. It balances my head out. It calms me down. It lets me see things from a different perspective. This really isn't talked about in the medical side of things. I can't walk into a physician's office right now in Colorado and say, you know, doc, it just kind of keeps my head straight, man. You know, I got to make something up. I go, oh yeah, I got migraine headaches, or my knees hurt, you know, or something like that, you know, which are very relevant topics within the medicine, but there's also a mental health aspect of this medicine as well that's not being talked about. And so that's how I got started with cannabis. Fast forward to 2005, my brother and I moved down to Costa Rica. We were in the building industry, and we built homes down there from 2005 to 2009. The market dropped off in Costa Rica. We didn't have any more work. We had to come up to the States. At that point, I got back, I made a decision to move to Colorado to build an off-grid piece of property, a main house, guest home, and eventually a greenhouse, and build this completely off-grid, independent infrastructure. So that was my main reason for coming to Colorado. It wasn't for the fact that I wanted to get into the cannabis industry. So as I sit here today, this is kind of a byproduct of, this is a very unintentional position that I found myself in. I did not intend to go this deep into the cannabis industry. Although I loved cannabis, I smoked it every day. So as I was looking for work in Colorado, I got hooked up on a solar electric company installing solar electric panels, and that was doing all right, but I wasn't making any money. I was trying to figure out how to make some money to fulfill my dream. I started doing the numbers on growing cannabis, and the numbers were great, to tell you the truth. You know, I thought I was going to be a millionaire in about a year and a half. It didn't quite work out like that, but it definitely sustained me. So I started out, got my medical permits. I threw my mattress out into the living room. I turned one bedroom into a flower room and one bedroom into a veg room. And I was doing about 3 pounds a month out of my 2-bedroom place, which was close to $10,000 at the time. It was a beautiful thing. I gained financial independence with cannabis. And that's really what I was looking for at first with cannabis. I was looking to make money. I wanted beautiful bud around me at all times. So here I was making $10,000 a month, managing plants, which is a whole lot easier than managing people. And you know, I knew that I was onto something. So as I claimed to be a medical caregiver, people would start coming up to me saying, you know, I'm having trouble sleeping. Do you have anything for this? And I'd kind of scratch my head and I'd be like, well, yeah, I mean, if I smoke a lot of bud, I sleep really well. You know, that's about all I know about it at this point. That quickly evolved into YouTube videos. Trying to figure out, you know, the medicine-making techniques and what was best. In this case, for insomnia, the tincture was the best application. And so I started making tinctures. I started giving these medicines to people, and I started seeing real results. So I was like, oh, hold on here. This is interesting. I'm making money, and I'm making an organic medicine to help people. This is a beautiful thing happening right here. So example after example after example, which I'm going to get into later with my specific patients here. I just started seeing results from this organic medicine. And I was skeptical. I really was, you know. I just didn't believe it until, you know, that gets me into my conditions, for example, that it's helped me. It's obviously helped me calm my emotional states down. Also, I have psoriasis, some doctors call it. Some doctors call it eczema. Some doctors call it dermatitis. It's an inflammatory disease at this point, and I was starting to get it all over my face to the point to where I went to the doctor and I said, Doc, man, you got to do something for me here, you know? It's starting to affect my appearance. This is a problem. Let's fix it. And the doc said, well, here's a little hydrocortisone cream. Don't use too much of it because you know, it can damage your skin and won't really fix the problem, but it'll tame it for a little bit. And I was like, thanks, Doc. How much do I owe you? You know? I got nothing out of that. So then I started taking this into my own hands and trying to solve my own health problems with this. And this, what I really want to portray is that this is a very personal thing. You can literally grow your own medicine in your backyard and treat your own ailments and treat your family's ailments. So this is serious biz right here. So I've treated my psoriasis with it at this point, or my eczema. I have a topical salve that I use. It consists of coconut oil, beeswax, and cannabis oil, and nothing else. Sometimes we put a little bit of lavender in there to sweeten up the smell, but the fact is that this is the only thing that I've found that has helped my skin condition. So there's another example right there from me personally on how I've taken this, you know, this health into my own hands, and the fact that I'm using an organic medicine to do it is a beautiful thing. I mean, it's success is what it is. Let me get into some patients real quick. Well, you know what, before I get into patients, let me talk about my vision, because as I moved to Colorado, I was in search of an independent life. I was in search of building an infrastructure for myself to, first of all, build my own home. Second of all, produce my own energy. Third of all, filter my own water, produce the majority of my own food. And so there were 4 components in there, and I didn't realize that there was a 5th component to that whole independence, and that was making your own medicines. And so the cannabis really came into this whole picture, and you know, it'll be interesting to kind of follow my story just for the fact that I'm about to build my main house on the property, and hopefully gain this independence. So cannabis plays a very key role in becoming independent and not subject or dependent to what I call the broken pharmaceutical system. It's ridiculous, the stuff that we hear. I'm sure everyone can agree with this, or the majority can. Let me talk about some case scenarios real quick, starting with an epilepsy patient that I have. So, you know, as I claimed to be a medical caregiver and still do, people started coming to me, and I got an epilepsy patient about a year ago. His name's Trevor. He's 24 years old. He was having 45 seizures a day when I got to him. It was a heavy situation, and I have not been trained in the medical profession. I haven't been trained about death and dying and all this stuff. So I was coming at it from a builder's point of view, just being able to make this medicine and process this medicine. Trevor was having 45 seizures a day, 365 days ago. We have gotten him down to less than 15 seizures a day at this point. And let me read off what he was taking pharmaceutically before we started weaning him off. We've got him down to a very low dosage of his pharmaceuticals as well. Start with Depakote. 14 pills in the morning, 1,750 milligrams a day. He is down to 750 milligrams a day at this point. Another 14 pills in the afternoon. He's also taking 750 milligrams in the evening. So we went from 1,750 milligrams, we're tapering it down to 750 milligrams at this point. This is where we're at. Keppra, another anti-seizure medication. He was taking 2,000 milligrams in the morning, 2,000 milligrams in the evening. We have him down to 600 milligrams in the morning, 600 milligrams in the evening. Not to mention his seizures are down. Lazopran, 1 milligram dose, took him completely off of that. Diazepam, 10 milligram dose once a day, completely off of that. A thyroid medicine, levothyroxine, not sure exactly if I'm saying that right, 150 micrograms, and he is completely off of that at this point. And so I've been working with his mother, tapering him down dosing. So as people talk about this medicine or this cannabis being a gateway drug, it's actually an exit drug. It's been proven over and over and over again that this is a great way to taper yourself off of these pharmaceuticals, no matter if they're seizure medicines, if they are sleeping aids, if they are the Vicodins and the oxycodones for pain relief. So that's Trevor's case. I also have given him some salve for his back. He's bedridden. He broke his back 4 years ago as well to top it all off from a seizure. So now he's really sitting in a very interesting position to where he lays in bed for the majority of the day and he gets these sores on his back. Well, I made him some salve, the coconut oil, beeswax, cannabis oil, gave it to his mom. It was the only thing that helped sores on his back, the only thing. And she's been trying things over and over again for years and years about this. So there's another example of how different uses of ingesting this cannabis can help in different ways. If someone claims to know everything about cannabis at this point, they're completely lying to you. This is a very magical plant. And so, you know, this is what the exciting part about this also is that you guys sitting right here right now have not missed any boat at this point. The research is very primitive. They're researching, they're doing tests on mice and rats, which us in Colorado, we're actually practicing on patients. Trevor's mom says, well, what happens if he takes too much? And I go, well, I know one thing, he's not gonna die, that's for sure, you know? And so, yeah, he might get a little bit uncomfortable. You gotta get him to a nice, comfortable place at that point and let him know that things are gonna calm down for him, you know? If you eat too many edibles or too much oil, it kind of turns into a psychedelic experience there for a second. The second patient is a 68-year-old lady. And this is an interesting story because this lady called the cops on me when I bought my piece of property in Colorado. I bought my 35-acre piece of property. I threw 5 big greenhouses on it without the HOA's permission. I was gonna beg for forgiveness afterwards, and I did. And I ended up taking them down. I wasn't happy with the design of them. But this lady was the lady that called the cops on me in the neighborhood. And so I figured out who called the cops on me, and I invited them up to a barbecue, her and her husband. Her husband's 71, she's 68 years old. Very skeptical. They thought I might have been part of the whole Mexican mafia drug ring. And I mean, you know, these are very conservative people that haven't been educated on things. So I gave them the benefit of the doubt. I said, come on up to my property, you know, let's cook out. I'll show you guys around. I'll try to educate you guys and let you guys know that this is a very benign organic plant. They came up. First thing Dawn said, she walked into the greenhouse. She was like, wow, it smells good in here. You know, so her senses automatically were attracted to this plant. You know, it didn't smell like a rotten piece of meat, is my point. You know, your body rejects certain smells. The body loves the cannabis smell. The senses love the cannabis smell, which is a very good indicator that we're made to ingest this plant. Second thing she said, God, these plants are beautiful. You know, another very appealing thing at that point. So I started to explain to her. I grew 33 different strains that year, each strain for different medical conditions. And so I started to explain this to her. She literally walked out of the greenhouse scratching her head. And she's a smart lady. She's a very sensible lady. And she says, you know, I think I've been misguided this whole time. You know, this is not what I've been taught. And so she opened her eyes up. She was the one that then turned me on to my salve recipe. She got interested in cannabis all of a sudden, and she has become a straight up medical marijuana advocate in Colorado at this point. Her husband grows all of their medicine, and then she takes it down and processes it, and she helped me out with this salve recipe that I've come up with. So there's a story about full circle people's opinions changing just by education. And I think that this is a very key point that it is. It's literally all about education. As I was sitting in the paddy wagon, I was talking with these cops, and I was like, guys, look, man, you know, I got a speech here at 1 o'clock. Y'all should come down here and listen to this, man. Get educated. That way you can at least know what you're listening to and know what you're talking about when you do have to talk about this. They're not here. They, you know, that's just the way it is these days. Another patient, Mike, chronic pain, was in a car accident 2.5 months ago. He's bedridden about 20 hours a day right now. The doctors got him all jacked up on pharmaceuticals when I got to him on pain management. Vicodin being the main medicine. We have completely gotten him off of that Vicodin. And he's managing his pain very well with oil and edibles. And he's gained 7 pounds within the past 2 months as well. Because one key ingredient to healing is ingesting good nutrients into your body and being able to keep them down, and also a deep sleep. These are two very fundamental aspects to healing, which it's kind of common sense at that point, you know. So I put 2 and 2 together. He's doing great right now. He just keeps progressing. So there are numerous cases like this that I give this medicine to people and it works. And I'm sitting here going, really? And the fact is that yes, this works. I wouldn't be up here today speaking about cannabis and the medicinal qualities if I didn't truly believe in it. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take you on a little bit of a slideshow of my property and the plants that I've grown last year. And then that'll give you a little bit of an understanding of what I'm doing in Colorado, and eventually what you guys can be doing on a personal level here in Australia as well. Everyone wants to make $1 million out of this industry in Colorado, and yeah, man, it's gold fever for sure. But my point is that this can be a very personal thing as well. So you don't have to make $1 million. You can grow 6 plants in your backyard, and you know, at that point, there's very interesting dynamics going on right now with the policymakers, the police, and the actual growers and consumers of cannabis. If the policymakers don't pull their heads out of their you-know-whats, at least the police will be able to say, they will be able to tolerate it. And I think that's what's happening in the United States right now. People aren't getting busted for growing plants in the United States. They're just cutting them down. People aren't going to jail for an ounce of marijuana, 2 ounces of marijuana these days. So it's being tolerated, and I think that's a pretty key thing to look out for over here in Australia as well, is that grow your own plants, man. Really. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen if they catch you with 2 plants? I'm not sure about that, but I don't think they would take your house at that point. You know, I don't think that you would get thrown in jail. So, you know, I've got rebel blood in me from way back in the day, that's for sure. Before there was a white market, there was a black market. So yeah, if we can we kick this slideshow off? Yeah. This is a view from my property. I've built these micro dwellings on my property, which you'll see. They're small units. I live in one of them right now. So this is the view. I'm doing all herbs in this garden right here to cook with, so it's part of the whole vision as well. Yeah, next one. Okay, there's another view of the property. Yeah, that's a work in progress right there. I'm about 80% done with my structure. All right. There's another dwelling. It's an A-frame, so I will invite everyone sitting here right now to come visit me in Colorado. That's where you guys will be staying without the snow. All right. These are the babies. This is my grow partner, Dave. He's from Long Island, New York. Great lacrosse coach. These are the plants in the ground. This is about June 10th at this point. We have exactly the opposite growth season as you guys over here. I was talking with someone about the light cycles. Pretty interesting being south of the equator right now compared to north. Yeah, let's go. This is some hail that came in July. If I wouldn't have had my greenhouse covered, I would have lost my complete crop. So I would suggest, especially with the rains that we saw, cover your plants if you can, when you can. You guys got to be a little discreet these days. This is early August, so we're talking about about 2 months at this point of growth. And you can see they're really healthy plants at this point. Another view, solar electric, everything is off grid. Yeah, keep rolling, man. Just a magical plant, really. I mean, when I feed this plant organic nutrients, literally the energy pops off this plant. It's incredible. So I've gained this incredible intimate relationship with these plants. Just some silhouettes. There's a vegetable garden that I do every year. This is a Cinderella 99, pure sativa. What's that? Nah, man, the Cinderella 99, the Cinderella 99 is an easy plant to grow. It produces really well. It has a short flower time as well. I'm up at 2,500 feet or meters, which I have a lot of different variables to deal with rather than you guys. Short flower times are good because I do have a short season. It starts to get really cold on us. This is a pineapple chunk right here. Another Cinderella 99 from a different perspective. This is in full effect right here. And the next photograph, you see a water catchment system. So I've also caught all of my water. I catch all my water on my greenhouse and I recycle it. Yeah, I catch all my rainwater, I store it, and I use that rainwater to water my plants. So there's literally 0 footprint that I take from the exterior. I do build a super soil, man, and that's the thing, is that yeah, this is an elephant diesel. This is my greenhouse right here with everything covered up. Yeah, right. There's Bob. And so that's in full effect. Those are getting ready to be harvested at this point. This is the water catchment system I'm talking about here. I had to develop this. I wasn't sure exactly, you build things, being a builder, you build things and then you kind of back yourself into a corner sometimes. I wasn't sure exactly where I was going to put all the water with this design, and I had to come up with this innovative system. This guy right here, these rafters right here are the high points. So you can imagine when the water hits this, it forms a little channel just by gravity and by weight, and it comes down into this tube right here, deposits into the gutter system, runs along here, and then it was put down into tanks last year. I'm having a pond built out in front of the house this year to store all the water. So again, zero footprint. This is all vegetable as well, so I incorporate my vegetables. I had a great vegetable season last year. It was fun to grow. Yeah, let's keep going, man. Grape Kush. Kushes are fun to grow. They have big, strong buds, man. They yield out really well compared to a sativa. This is an elephant diesel. Now the Kush is an indica. Diesels are a sativa. This bud structure doesn't get that thick. So if you're talking about weight and most medical conditions require indicas. So for a little bit of a head stash or something of that sort, this is why I grow a sativa. This is called a Commandante right here. The reason why a lot of my plants are purple is the fact that it gets cold up there and the plant reacts to the cold by getting purple. You see some of the silaxes in here. These are purple silaxes right here. This is a high CBD strain. So I was working with some high CBD strains as well. Yeah, let's keep rolling, man. Elephant Diesel, again, really beautiful. This is late fall at my place. Pineapple Chunk. Again, you can tell I love my cabin, man. And then, so this is what's sitting in my bedroom as we speak. And I told our employees, I said, you can F up 100 tours, do not kill my plants. So this is literally sitting in Colorado right now, getting ready to go back out into my greenhouse. I'm dealing with some incredible strains this year. An ACDC strain, 18%. CBD, 1% THC. This is what, like Utah, for example, the super conservative state's talking about with helping it with epilepsy. This is something that they're only considering. I'm also dealing with a Spanish strain right now called Juanita la Lagrimosa. It translates into Juanita the crybaby. So we shall see how she reacts, but I have grown her over the wintertime, and she's doing just great. Her immune system's beautiful. Yeah, so this is a video of October 12th, and you can see it gets a little extreme. But you can see, like with the rains that happened last night, this is exactly why this greenhouse is important, because you totally protect it, and you control, I have found a profession to all the control freaks out there, including myself, growing cannabis. Cannabis loves to be controlled. Cannabis loves to be, look at the wind. I mean, it's going off. So, it's important. Just as we saw with the rain last night, you gotta control the elements and the variables that you expose your medicine to. Everything was organic. Let's go into the next gig, man. All right, so this is Dawn. This is the lady that called the cops on me. We went for a Denver tour. I took her on a high country cannabis tour, and we went around and sampled different buds. Yeah, she's having a blast. Let's keep rolling on that. This is her again. In the state of Colorado, you're allowed to grow 6 plants legally if you're over 21 years old. This is some THC CBD gel caps that we make for the cancer patients and the epilepsy patients that we have. This is salve right here. This is all topical. This is the beeswax that's involved with that. And then notice that this is very green. My salve that we're making today is not green. We're doing more of a refining process. So this has happened 365 days. I'll be really interested to where my medicine making skills are 365 days from now. and hopefully I can talk to you guys about them next year. This is a tincture as well. Great for insomnia, great for anxiety relief. It's with a vegetable glycerin, which is this material right here. We're going to get into this in a second. Put it right under your tongue, you know, and so that immediately helps with your anxiety if you're feeling anxious. This is a beautiful thing. Everyone feels a little anxious every once in a while. Everyone can't sleep every once in a while, right? Organic. Everclear. This is by the way, Asia did a great job up here. She definitely knows what she's talking about with that last presentation. She was talking a little bit about this Phoenix Tears oil. This is what we use. Phoenix Tears, there was a gentleman named Rick Simpson, which you guys might know, have heard that name. Rick Simpson had melanoma on his face. The doctors told him to, you know, get ready for some chemo. And he didn't settle for that answer. He made some oil using isopropyl alcohol, and he used it as a solvent, just as Asia was talking about washing the butane through the cannabis. We, and Rick Simpson uses isopropyl alcohol, rubbing alcohol. What we use is this Everclear alcohol, which is a grain alcohol, which is a food-grade substance. So then again, you can do this process in your backyard, and if you do have any leftovers of the alcohol, of the solvent, it's okay to ingest at that point. We're talking about parts per million. You're not going to feel it, and it's not going to be dangerous. But Rick Simpson was really the pioneer of the strong oil that we're making these days. These recipes right here are located in the back table, right behind the banner over there, and I've made, Kathleen has actually made over 100 copies. So you guys take all these recipes with you. One of my main goals is not to restrict information from anyone. So we want to get this information out there. There's so much food on the table that we cannot restrict it. Like I said last night, no sacrificing morals and ethics in this industry. Just can't do it, not on our end. So yeah, hash oil processing, that's what we just looked at. Here's a dry ice extraction. And this is a dry ice extraction, what we do in Colorado right here. Obviously that's the herb, and that's a dry ice. Same concept as this. Let's keep going. Here's me shaking this keef. So keef comes out of this, which I'll get into. This is the keef, which then we incorporate into butter. We incorporate that into the coconut oil and the beeswax for salves, for topical. And we also incorporate that into the glycerin for the tinctures as well. Again, this is us making a little bit of butter at one of our classes. Matt, my business partner, and I, we teach classes in Denver right now. And we have a blast, man. We're in this gonzo lab, basically. There's no regulation on us at all. When all the dispensaries are all hemmed up on regulations, we have a tour company. They haven't figured out how to regulate a tour company yet. So we can really experiment with this stuff. The fact is that this is not a harmful medicine, and if you ingest too much of it, you're not gonna die. Gives us the right and gives us the freedom to practice at this point. It's a very benign medicine. Yeah, let's keep rolling. Here's some Everclear again. I'm not exactly sure that you guys can get this here. No? You guys might be able to get something like it. The highest, you know, you guys can use isopropyl alcohol. Me personally, if I have access to this grain alcohol, I will not use isopropyl alcohol. Have I used isopropyl before? Yes. Have I had good results from it? Absolutely. So, you know, you're kind of limited to the resources that you have with you. Yeah, you can make some grain alcohol, man. Back to the Appalachian, West Virginia days, man, for sure, dude. Yeah, set up a still, you know. Didn't hear it from me. Yeah, you guys might be able to order this as well. I'm not exactly sure the importation laws around here. All right, let's keep rolling, man. And that might be it, to tell you the truth. Okay, good. Let's turn the lights back on here, and I'm gonna get right into the medicine-making processes right now. All these processes can be done in your home. This is something that I teach the Florida legislation group that came over to us and was interested in learning about medicine making. The fact is that obviously I've come up with some pretty elaborate containers here right from the kitchen, right? These are very simple processes. If you can cook, you can make this medicine. If I can make this medicine, y'all can make this medicine. Seriously, man, this is not hard at all. Matt and I keep repeating when we teach these classes, this is not rocket science. It's so not rocket science. This cannabis wants to be worked with. So keep that in mind. I'm about to throw a bunch of information at you guys. I will be available to talk to you guys personally as well. My business partner, Matt, as well, he has a ton of knowledge under him. We do these classes together. So if you guys have specific questions at the end of this, hit us up for sure. We'd be more than willing to talk to you guys. And on that note, we will be more than willing to counsel you guys in anything any questions that you guys have. You know, that's the least that we can do. So here we go. I'm going to clear this off real quick, and we're going to get into this dry ice extraction. Again, don't be intimidated by these processes. This is all organic material we're working with right here. You can't really mess it up. Obviously, there's a little learning curve, but it's as simple as mixing a couple of ingredients together, shoving it in the oven for, I did my Celsius calculations here. The key temperature that we're going to be working with during these processes is 115 degrees Fahrenheit, or excuse me, 115 degrees Celsius. That translates into 240 degrees Fahrenheit. By not raising the temperature above that, we preserve the medicinal properties of the different cannabinoids, such as CBD, THC being the most popular one, and then CBN probably being the third most important cannabinoid, which acts as a sedative. And so we'll get into that here in a second. Here we go with the dry ice. Yeah? It's good to do this on a smooth surface. You're going to have a lot of keef at the end of this. Again, organic, right? We're dealing with organic. This is the same kind of technique as the bubble process, the bubble, using regular ice. The fact of the matter is we don't have any water in this technique. This is very simple, easy, efficient technique to use. So this is what I'm doing here is I'm agitating the oil off of the plant matter. And so what's happening is that main point here, cannabis and cannabis is an oil. The most valuable properties in this plant are oils. So treat them like an oil. I don't know if you guys have ever, painted with an oil-based paint. You can't wash your paintbrush with water, right? You got to use a thinner to do that. Same concept. So treat this like an oil. And so what's happening right now is the oil is becoming very brittle and cold compared to if you were to warm an oil up, it would become very sticky. What we're doing is exactly the opposite. We're freezing these oil crystals and we're making them fall off of the plant matter. So this is a refining process, what's taking place. Again, this is a 190 micron bag. You can start to see here the keef coming off. This is all pure oil that we're working with here. All the plant matter is up top still. I've done 1.5 pounds of keef one night with this process. probably about 20 pounds of herb. So it took me a 6-pack and some good music and a couple of spliffs. Again, this is a refining process. The fact that we get our butters, incredibly golden butters, is a beautiful thing. We really haven't seen any butter like the butters that we're processing right now. This is a new technique that we're incorporating. Yeah, you can start to see this. I'll hold it up here in a second. Now, how do you tell when you're done? That's an interesting question. What we're doing here is we're shaking off all this oil, but in the process, there's plant matter being broken up as well. So the plant matter is being broken up, and it eventually is falling through this micron sac as well. This is all organic matter. It doesn't matter if you have a little bit of plant material in there. But when this starts to look more and more green, you're going to start to see this blonde color take effect right in the beginning. It's the pure oils coming off. You'll start to see a little bit of green come in afterwards. This is where you make the decision whether you want to stop or you want to keep going. I usually tend to stop once I start to see like a predominantly green color in this, just for the fact that I know that I'm not getting as much oil and I'm getting more plant matter at that point, right? And so what we're left with in this bag is just straight up organic matter. All the oil is stripped off of it. If you were to smoke it, you probably wouldn't get that high. I know you wouldn't get that high. And so the only thing that this is good for at this point, after we've shaken this, is straight up compost. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to run it through the keef. And what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for a blonde layer down below, and then I'm going to start getting green up top, which, yeah, I think I'm definitely at the green. I put about a ½ ounce of cannabis in here. And usually our yields are about 25%, if you can believe it. And it kind of makes sense, to tell you the truth, because if you're dealing with a plant that has, say, 20% THC or oil in it, you got a little bit of plant matter in there, you're going to yield 25% oil at that point. Okay? I'm just going to get this aggressive. People have their own techniques. I really want to teach you guys the fundamental concepts of this, just for the fact that, like any artist, you develop your own style after this, you know, and just like cooking, everyone has their own style. Everyone, you know, musicians have their own style. No one's alike. But if I can teach you the fundamental concepts, then you can take this back and you can really be effective with the medicines, yeah? So I would recommend doing this process first and then making your medicines, which we're about to get into, the salve, the butter, and the tincture. Okay, I'm looking pretty green right here. I'm gonna hold this up. You guys can see that it is definitely a little bit green at this point. So what I'll do is, say for example, I was to shake 14 grams of flour in this. I would get 25% off of that. So what is that, 3.5 grams? And so I don't have a scale up here right now, but I'll be willing to bet that we have about 3.5 grams, maybe about 3 grams in this. Talk about dosing real quick. This is where I'm going to start throwing some information at you guys. This usually contains 50% plant matter, 50% oil. This is a beautiful way to control your dosing with your medicines. Why do we recommend this process? Because it's always 50-50 or right around there. When you're talking about cannabis, for example, you're talking about blueberry, a strain of blueberry having 17% THC in it and 17% oil, compared to this white widow over here that has 22%. So this ½ ounce isn't created equally as this ½ ounce. When you get it back down into this refining process right here, you know that that's your oil. You know, you just yield less off of your blueberry than your white widow. okay? So then you're talking 50% THC, CBD, CBN, 50% plant matter. Very easy math at that point. Let's go back to like 6th grade math class, somewhere in there. 1 gram of anything equals 1,000 milligrams of anything. So then we start taking this path down the medicinal side, and we start talking about Advil, 500 milligrams, right? Vicodin, whatever milligrams, you know what I'm saying? And so these medicines that we talk this language of medicine, we start talking about milligrams, right? Okay, well, we're going to start talking about milligrams here. And this was really a hard thing for us to wrap our heads around with the dosing. But, okay, let's scoop this up. I think we got a pretty nice yield, man. I would say that, right? Straight from the Nimbin Hills, man. All right, so let's theoretically take 2 grams of this keef, okay? Let's put it in here, all right? Some rubber bands. All right, so theoretically I'm gonna take 2 grams of this. All right, 2 grams of keef at 50% oil, 50% plant matter. How many milligrams do I have? 1,000 milligrams, okay? Because in 2 grams converts into 2,000 milligrams, and if I have 1,000 milligrams of plant matter, 1,000 milligrams of oil. See where I'm getting at? A standard dose in Colorado these days, this is the beautiful thing that's happening in Colorado right now, is that a standard dose in Colorado is 10 milligrams. Okay, so like each cookie that they sell is 10 milligrams. What we're talking about here is that this is very close to 2 grams here of material. We can make 100 cookies from just this little batch right here. And so literally on an economic point of view and a financial point of view, which I definitely don't shy away from at all, I think cannabis can lead to financial freedom. And I encourage everyone to do that in one way or another. You can turn a ½ ounce of bud, less than a ½ ounce of bud, and you can make 100 cookies out of it and sell them for $5 a pop on in a legal market. You know what I'm saying? And so this is a beautiful way to process and to get this medicine out there and to really stretch this medicine. And so what I'm going to do is 2 grams, stick of butter, boom, right? Turn the oven on, 115 degrees Celsius, put it in the oven, 60 minutes, okay? The fact that we like ovens is because we can control the temperature really well in the oven. Yeah, it's, what is it, a ½ a cup, I believe, which those are talking US terms, 8 tablespoons. Okay, so there's my butter. Take the rest of this. Let's just say we got 3.5 grams in total off of this. I have 1.5 grams at this point. 50% plant matter, 50% oil, comes out to about 750 milligrams, okay? All right. You guys talk about alcohol-based tinctures. I'm gonna talk to you guys about glycerin-based tinctures. So this is alcohol. Yeah, alcohol-based tinctures have a really harsh taste and they're hard to put under your tongue. This glycerin, you can pretty much get at any health food store, and this has a really sweet taste to it. So it's a great alternative. Put this, take this off, dump maybe 3 ounces or so into your cup. Again, 115 degrees Celsius in the oven. Now, 60 minutes for the butter. Okay, what this does is that kills 2 birds with 1 stone. we're going to get into this decarboxylation. I know I'm running out of time, but we need to talk about decarboxylation for a second. 60 minutes, what it does with the butter, it infuses the oils together, for one, and it also decarboxylates, which it activates the oil. If I was to walk through the woods and just pick a bud off of a tree and eat it, I wouldn't get high. Why? Because it has not been decarboxylated yet. It needs heat to activate the oils and the THC to work. Okay, so that's what we do by putting it into the oven. We take care of two things at this point. We infuse the two oils together, which the THC oil loves fatty acids. Butter just so happens to be one of the best in that. And we're also decarboxylating in the process. We're activating the THC. Now, the longer you decarboxylate something, the more sedative effect it has on you. So if you're trying to go for an insomnia-based medicine, such as a tincture, you're going to want to decarboxylate for a longer period of time. So what we do, instead of 60 minutes, as the butter would be, we're doing 90 minutes for this. So the THC cannabinoids transform into CBN cannabinoids, which is the sedative effect. And that's what you're looking for in an insomnia case or an anxiety relief case at that point. Okay? 115 degrees, butter, 60 minutes. 115 degrees, glycerin-based tincture, 90 minutes. Let's just say we have a little bit more keef in here. Let's throw two grams of keef into this cup right here. We'll take the keef, put it in, beeswax, right? Well, put it in, coconut oil, refined coconut oil. The unrefined coconut oil reacts a little bit different. All these proportions are on those recipes back there, and I can send them to you over an email as well if you guys want. Take the coconut oil, dump it in, 115 degrees in the oven, 60 minutes. You kill two birds with one stone again. You infuse the oils together, and you also decarboxylate, so you activate the THC at that point again. It's good to give these things a stir about every 15, 20 minutes when they're in the oven, you know, just to get all that surface area down. Take all of these out, same process. Here's my super duper filtration system. It's a t-shirt. Again, these are all materials that you have laying around your house, which is totally cool. Cheesecloth, doesn't work, it's too porous. You'll start getting plant material in there. So what I'll do at this point is that all these are hot at this point. You're going to want to use gloves to handle them. And so, say for example, we have our coconut oil and our beeswax in this container. We'll take this t-shirt. We'll take another container. We'll put this filter over top of it. Okay, give it a little bit of a cushion in there. Take our salve unit. The beeswax is then melted. It's all mixed in together. We pour it in. Filters out all the plant matter. And what you're left with is this beautiful, beautiful coconut oil, beeswax, cannabis oil salve. Super golden. You're eliminating the chlorophyll from the product because you went through this keef dry ice extraction process. And then literally at that point, once everything is filtered, you take your material and you have a couple of jars like this or whatever you want to put it into. Sometimes I actually put it back into the coconut oil jar and just use it like that. You just literally pour it back into the coconut oil jar, let it cool, and you're done. Same thing with the butter. Out of the oven, strain the keef out of it. You're good to go at that point. So, you know, one main point here is that a 10 milligram dose is a single dose. You know, I'm sure you guys have made brownies before and totally gotten floored off the brownies, man. You know, I mean, it's easy to do. Everyone gets all excited. They're like, yeah, let's put an ounce in this thing, man. And next thing you know, you guys don't have a good experience. I've done it myself before. This dosing technique is a great way to manage your doses. 10 milligrams for one dose. Now, people ask me all the time, how do you know if it works? How do you know if it's too strong or if it's too weak? Well, everyone reacts to cannabis differently, and that's what we're figuring out. So my tolerance with edibles is far less than my business partner's tolerance for edibles. I can eat about 30 milligrams, and I'm done, man. I'm sleeping really well. I'm probably in the kitchen eating like 4 peanut butter jelly sandwiches at that point, you know? You know, so my business partner, for example, he can eat up to, say, 80 milligrams. So how do you know if this is working? Yourself. You listen to yourself, man. And literally, you're medicating yourself. And if you're giving this to patients, you approach it from a scientific point of view, and you start eliminating the variables. You start getting constants involved with this. And then you note down what kind of medicine, what proportions of the medicine that you gave your patient, and then you ask them, how do you feel? What happened? For example, and then that way, when I give a tincture to someone, and they say, well, you know, I got to put a whole dropper in my mouth, and, you know, I mean, it's cool, but then it works. And then so what I'll do is I'll double the dose next time. Therefore, they only have to take half a dropper.
Andrew, I've got another question. I'm just curious about this because I actually lost a very dear friend just at Christmas with cancer, and she was a nurse, and we all believe in the black salve and how it will kill skin cancer. So I'm really interested in knowing how all this works for people and helps heal people. But I just wanted to also question the tincture. Can you use just like whiskey or bourbon to, if you freeze the herb, before, then so it's got the little crystals dropping off it, and then if you just let's just say put it in a little glass jar with a tin lid. Try not to use plastic, everybody, because over time plastic will leach. Use glass, but we'll say whiskey or let's just say bourbon, which is vodka, yes, which is roughly about 40% volume alcohol. Can you do a tincture?
Absolutely. You know, now this brings up a great point that I didn't touch on, is that you need the heat activation to activate the oil. Okay, so as you soak this herb in your alcohol, you're not getting that heat. Okay, you're not getting that decarboxylation. You're not activating the THC. I've made tinctures before like this, and I've just let them sit in the corner somewhere, you know, in a low light situation. And I've taken the top off and shaken it up, you know, every couple of days and put it back in the corner, and I've let them sit for 2 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 months, sort of deal. I've given them to people and taken them myself, and I'm like, why the heck isn't this working, man? You know, and it's because it hasn't been decarboxylated. Okay, and so decarboxylation is a really key ingredient right there. You've got to expose your herb first to heat. So what I would do in that situation, to where I was making a alcohol-based tincture, is that I would put my herb in a container or a jar, and I would put it into the oven at, say, Celsius, 115 degrees for 60 minutes. Then you have activated material that you're working with. Then when you strip it from the plant matter, you're working with that oil and it's already activated. So yes, the answer to your question is yes, you can use whiskey. A lot of people definitely prefer vodka to that. That's what I've made it out of. But the decarboxylation process is very important. On that note, the decarboxylation process, we talk about 115 degrees being the ultimate, the most beneficial decarboxylation temperature. Why is that? Because if we raise the temperature any higher, we're hurting some of the medicinal properties of the cannabinoids at that point. So we want to keep everything on a lower temperature. It's kind of like grilling, for example. You know, I mean, low temperature. Destructive, the THC at that point and the CBD content starts to lose its medicinal property in Fahrenheit, about 300 degrees. It's about 130 degrees, 140 degrees Celsius. So that's an interesting point. Now, when you light a joint, that's 500 degrees Fahrenheit. You know, so this decarboxylation has this range of sunlight over here on the lowest side of things. It takes a long time for the sun to decarboxylate something. But then these e-nails with the dab rigs, which is probably a new term for a lot of you guys, they're smoking hash out of a bong these days, and they have this little, for lack of another description, a soldering iron that they put on this titanium bowl piece, and it heats that bowl piece up to 710 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's the decarboxylation process. So my point is that the decarboxylation range of temperature is all over the board, anywhere from sunlight to, say, 710 degrees Fahrenheit, which, let me do the math real quick on that. That's 345 degrees Celsius. You start to lose the medicinal properties in that. But again, the cannabis plant wants to be worked with. So you can range with this. There's a huge range to work with here, which means that you guys will be successful in medicine making probably your first or second time doing it, you know? Any more questions, yeah?
Yeah, I have a question. Do you have much experience with cancer? And if so, well, what strains have you had success with?
THC strains. I know a lot of people are all up on the CBDs, but it turns out that the CBDs and the THC cannabinoids work synergetically together. So the ultimate strain that I would go for with cancer would be a 2-to-1 CBD-THC ratio, which you're talking about, excuse me, I got that backwards, a 2-to-1 THC-CBD ratio. So you're talking about 14% THC, 7% CBD. If you guys can find a strain that has that, such as the Juanita La Lagrimosa, if you guys come to Colorado, I have seeds for you. You guys, that would be the best cancer fighting medicine at that point. And another website that's very interesting is called phoenixtears.ca. It has Rick Simpson's story about skin cancer and how he cured melanoma with it. And then he has his documentaries on there as well that is definitely worth time watching. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I've got the microphone here, sorry.
Yeah,
there's actually a product available on the Australian market called organic extraction fluid, which is 95% ethanol, and it's been denatured with essential oils. So it's perfectly suitable for this process. It's available from the dispensary over here and from Coda in Byron Bay. Also, another question.
That's a good point. You guys should listen to that. Where can you get that at?
The dispensary across the road here, I think.
Okay.
It's called organic extraction fluid.
Okay, and it's a pure ethanol.
It's 95% ethanol. It's a drinking ethanol.
Yeah.
It's been denatured, so to get around the tax status.
Made from corn.
Made from sugarcane.
All right. Yeah. Food grade, right there, man.
And it's hard to get sometimes because the supplier has only got a certain amount of it. So you just got to chase the different.
Good. Yeah, that would be your best bet.
Yeah.
That definitely would be your best bet.
But my question actually was about the decarboxylation. If you don't decarboxylate, will you still get the medicinal benefits, as in the anti-cancer possible effects, or is it only about the recreational side?
They do. The THCA, which is the property of THC before it's decarboxylated, does have medicinal properties, but not as much. So if you're really like fighting time, for example, you really don't want to F around with that. You want to decarboxylate at that point and get the most out of your medicine. the decarboxylation process, it loses about 15% of the THC properties as well. So take that into consideration with your dosing, is that if you're decarboxylating 2 grams of keef, for example, in some of your tinctures, take into consideration that not all that oil will be decarboxylated at that point. So on that note, there still is a little bit of uncarboxylated material in there, which, yeah, I've heard that it does have medicinal properties. It won't get you high, which is another great thing. CBD won't get you high either. And CBD counteracts THC. So if you're talking about, say, a 14% THC, 7% CBD, that CBD will counteract the psychoactive effects of the THC, and you can really start ingesting a bunch of it. Rick Simpson, for example, when he's talking about fighting cancer, he's talking about ingesting, working your way up to 1,000 milligrams of oil, which is a boatload of oil. If we're talking about eating a cookie at 10 milligrams and someone's having to ingest. The CBD and the THC? Okay. All right. The CBD and the THC work together with one another. So if I'm working with my genetic Juanita La Lagrimosa, what I'm doing is the THC is a very beneficial medicinal property, and the CBD also is. They combine together and they synergetically work together through research is what they found. So, you know, on that note, both of them are very effective with cancer treatments, along with others, and you won't get psychoactively high. I would definitely. What's that? It all starts with the genetic that you start with. That's what you're slave to, is the genetic that you start with, you know? Yeah. Okay.
Listen, I know that there's a whole heap, you've probably got more questions for Ray. Can I have a big hit round for Paul?
Thank you.